What's up, gang? How about we talk about the Lord's kind of working with me today a little bit more? Sense of security. Where does it come from? If we live relying upon ourselves quite a bit, our sense of security, some of us comes from what we can do under our own strength, or also sense of security comes from maybe how much money you got in a bank account. It's really a false sense of security because money in the bank account can be gone tomorrow, or could eventually vanish or be used up. In Psalm 16, I see David. It's called a Michtam of David. He says, "Preserve me, O God, for in you I put my trust. O my soul, you have said to the Lord, you are my Lord. My goodness is nothing apart from you. As for the saints who are on the earth, they are the excellent ones in whom is all my delight. Their sorrows shall be multiplied who hasten after other God. Their drink offering of blood I will not offer, nor take up their names on my lips. O Lord, you are the portion of my inheritance and my cup. You maintain my life." Okay, so if we go back, David says, "For in you I put my trust," and then he says, "You are my Lord," and he says, "You are the portion." He says, "You maintain my life." Where does the sense of security seem to be coming from? Someone greater than him that he's probably gotten to know and understand pretty well, because he what? Number one, verse 1, I put my trust. Where'd he put his trust? It's really not a surrender thing. It's a trust thing. That's all. So, for a long time in my life, which I didn't know any better, was the fact that I had to, or I was taught to, trust me, even with good intentions, to make decisions I needed to make things happen that I was sold to believe in needed to happen so everything in my life would be okay. What a false sense of security that was. Because as soon as something goes wrong or outside of the realm of my control, then what do we normally do? A lot of people, they'll flip out. They might even get angry, or they get depressed. If you have a relationship with somebody that you like, have a sense of security built in them because of what they do as a human to make you happy, one day they're going to fail you. It's just a fact of life. They too are temporary. But we see David here dealing with him who is eternal and having him. And if we think about it for a minute, God became Abraham's security too. Abraham turned his will and his life over to his care, and he walked it out. We see many situations like that through the Bible. Our Father does not promise us a smooth road. Jesus said we would have trials and tribulations in this world, but be of good cheer. How in the world can you be of good cheer when things are going bad? Think about that one. Without the proper perspective and understanding that comes from knowing and understanding the Lord by trusting him with your life in his hands, then you don't have the proper perspective. David quotes, I think down in here, about not being moved. In your presence is fullness of joy. You will show me the path of life, he says. Therefore his heart is glad. Glory rejoices. My flesh will rest in hope. There's a lot of people who are moved by consider negative circumstances. Oh, what are we going to do now? You can watch the news and they go, oh, they'll take it to work and talk about it. Oh, God, we got to do something about it. They'll move out of fear and doubt. Moving out of fear and doubt is not of the Lord. Perfect love casts out fear. So, moving according to fear, doubt, and anxiousness is of the sinful nature of Adam. But to have Him that lives inside of you, and going back to the perspective, Him from heaven who lives inside of you, the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is the Spirit that lives inside of us. And then the Bible tells us that we've been given the Spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. If that's the case, we ought to be pretty confident of who's living inside of us. But the perspective comes back again from the relationship and the trust. As a child trusts a parent, they find out that the parent wants what's best for the kid. Now, they may have a bad situation happen in their life and bring it to the parent for the parent to help them resolve it. But in the same sense, we can have a bad situation happen in our life but not be moved by it. Watch this, get this nugget, because we know He's moving within it. Get that one. The Bible tells us that He has the ability to work all things to the good, and the Bible tells us that He will do all that He pleases. Okay, so with that being said, why not trust Him with your life in His hands, who is capable of doing all that He pleases, instead of all that I please? Because I used to do all that I pleased to do. It was my will, my way of doing things, and a lot of it was according to fear and doubt and anxiousness and survival mode. I'm not living in survival mode. Jesus didn't die for us to live in survival mode. He did say you would have trials and tribulation. I'll say it again, but He said be of good cheer. He didn't say be fearful. He didn't say be doubtful. He didn't say be anxious. He didn't say be depressed. He didn't say be worried. He said be of good cheer. That's a direct command from the chief himself. As He is, so are we in this world. Come on, man. There's a lot of things I go through out in this world or in my life situations, circumstances, and I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I know Him who knows that answer to that question, and if I need to know the answer to the question, He will let me know. There's no need for me to stress or flip over anything that's beyond my grasp of my hands or my thought to get in there and get in the mix and handle. One thing He taught me many years ago, when I trust Him, guess what? If I'm shaken or rattled by any kind of situation that's external, that doesn't look good, guess what? Run it through the freaking serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Okay, number one. Number two, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the Bible tells us point blank, he who lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. Well, if a child lacks wisdom in knowing how to do something, typically if they've got a good relationship with their loving parents, what are they going to do? They're going to go to them and ask them. And the parent's going to step in and help them if the parent sees fit for the child to even be doing that. So again, there are many things in this world when you live according to self-reliant living, everything that you've built up in your mind and your head, and then everything that you've done to have the life, living the life that you think is yours, to carry the burdens thereof, guess what? Every bit of it's freaking temporary. Nothing in this world is freaking permanent. Nothing. Zero. Every relationship you'll have in this world will be severed at some time or another. But the relationship between us and Him, that's permanent. So, when you're dealing with your security, sense of security, where does it really lie? Where does it really lie? Because if it lies in a lot of things besides Him, you've been deceived. I was deceived for a long time. But I was talking to somebody earlier today and even said that. And I told him, get the nugget too, and I'll repeat it. Once someone starts trusting Him with their life in His hands and yielding to His wisdom and His strength and His guidance every single day, they will face the undoable or the unfavorable or the considered bad situations. It's actually a part of everybody's life, number one. Number two, not being moved by it because He's moving within it is a perspective and understanding they get from trusting Him more than they trust themselves. It's part of what He gives to us once we receive Him. He is the portion, period. So if you battle with security issues and have some false senses of security, there's an answer. He is the answer. Being in a relationship with Him, trusting Him with your life in His hands, is the answer. That's where your confidence comes from. Because my confidence used to be in me and what I could do when I could pull it off under my wisdom, my strength, and all that. There's thousands of people that live like that every day. And over the years, the Lord has undone me from that. My confidence is not in me. My confidence is in Him, who I trust with my life in His hands. That's where real security lies. I lay down like a 2 or 3 year old kid every single night of my life and sleep like a baby. And I have situations and circumstances in my life going on just like anybody else. But I'm not worried about them. I get up every day, say, all right, Lord, what are we doing? And He shows me. He walks me through the day. You know, He's like a parent that leads a child on journeys. Journeys of learning, journeys of fun time, journeys of you name it. Every day. So, false sense of security. Where have you vested your trust? And if you think about where you've put who and what you put your trust in, including yourself, you might be able to see that there's a lot of false sense of security in all of that you've chosen to put it in. But you just don't know any better. So once you shift that and learn to trust Him more than you trust yourself, you'll find all that stuff being the lie that it is. And we'll be back.